Just after 9:20. Now, have you ever wondered why you love some foods but hate others? Well, apparently it could have a lot to do with what your mother ate when she was pregnant, or even the texture or colour of your spoon. A new exhibition at the Science Museum in London is exploring what it is that influences our appetite.
Yes, hello. It is a big question, isn't it? Why do we like certain tastes at certain times of day? Is it the smell of the food? Is it, as you say, the sort of food our mothers ate when they were pregnant? Or is it down to something called our gut brain, which is demonstrated here? This exhibition is hoping to explain why. It can happen anytime, anywhere. An overwhelming desire to eat a particular food right away. This exhibition hopes to explain why.
If we understand how our appetites work, we can understand how to control our appetites. And if the statistics show us anything, it's that our appetites are raging out of control. By 2050, 1 in 2 adults in the UK will be obese.
When we're born, it's largely down to what our mothers ate whilst pregnant.
To some extent, it's true to say that babies are born pre-programmed with certain preferences for flavours and tastes, and that's a consequence of what their mothers ate when they were having them in their tummies.
But as we grow up, a multitude of other factors come into play.
We have a much more acute sense of smell than we think. It might just be that your cravings don't come out of nowhere. You're walking down the street and suddenly you want a very fatty treat. It might just be because you've picked up the smell of fat from somewhere in your environment, and that started the process of you wanting that fatty treat.
So if you know that, you can avoid the triggers which are what you want to eat.
Yes. If you think you're smelling fat, walk around with a rose pen, like the one down there. Breathe that in, and that's your new anti-trigger.
It's incredibly complex appetite and hunger and cravings, and it's a mixture of all sorts of things, from chemicals to psychology to real physical experience.
Different materials have different tastes. They can be used to trick us into eating more healthily.
The best way for you to experience the taste of materials is to have a go, really. So I'm going to hand you a couple of different spoons and you try this tomato soup with them. This is the stainless steel. So this is the standard material that most cutlery is made out of. Normal. So now we have copper. Now this is even more unusual again. You don't get copper cutlery. A little bit of spoon.
Yeah, that has altered the flavour of that soup.
Yeah, so we found that copper was incredibly bitter. For most people, was almost disgustingly bitter. If you have another suck of that spoon, you might start to really get some of that metallic taste.
Well, why does it matter? You don't have copper spoons.
No, but you have copper coming into contact with food. And although that might disadvantage the taste of the food, we've actually found that it improves the taste of other things. So sweet things can taste sweeter off copper because you get a contrast effect. So the spoon is bitter and the stuff tastes sweeter. So the reality would be you can reduce the sugar level because you don't have to put so much in to make it taste so sweet.
The human appetite has always been individual and unique. Only now are scientists beginning to understand why and what we can do about it. Tim Muffet, BBC News. And with me now is Dr. Andreas Fabian from Bucks University, who has, I kid you not, a PhD in spoons.
It always makes people smile. I've got a PhD on spoons, but I'm a silversmith and designer, so it's a PhD by practice. So It's not about the history of spoons.
Right.
Or
PhD in spoons, that's all we need to know. That's great. Now you are fascinated, aren't you, by the shape of what we eat from and the impact it has on how much we want to eat.
Yeah, so basically when you hold something in your hand, you tend to eat less than you keep a bowl or a plate on the table and eat directly from the table.
Why?
It must have something to do with the perception of weight, in that kind of context. So otherwise you only feel the food. There's no other connection with just a sense of weight, and that must have an impact. So
and the shape as well, that's important, is it?
Yeah, the shape in this case, it's only inviting that you hold it in your hand, rather than having it flat, because we have to invite people to use the things the way we want them to use them. Yeah, so something like that doesn't feel very safe. So you have to pick it up, and then you get your food placed in it, and then you eat from it.
What implication does this have in the fight against obesity? What should we be doing more of to help people eat more healthily?
Yeah, there are different things. More healthy, also means eating less. So this is already one way of eating less. More healthy, in terms of taste, it's also to enhance specific tastes, for instance. Yeah? So if we find a form which enhances the taste of sweet, we can put less sugar in it, in the ice cream. And as Zoe mentioned earlier on, round forms are normally associated with something sweet, yeah? Whereas more angular forms with sour. So if you design something which is pretty rounded, it tastes sweeter, you put less sugar in it.
It's fascinating stuff. Thank you ever so much indeed, and carry on with your spoon studies.
Yes.
And update us how they come on. Thanks ever so much for joining us. So yes, this exhibition, Cravings at the Science Museum, it hopes to answer some of the big questions surrounding what we eat and why we want to eat it.
Tim, thanks.